Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
Thank you for tuning in. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Beautiful looking Wednesday morning. 68 degrees here at the Paddock Mall. And this morning there was a story about the largest femur ever discovered. And I believe it was in Argentina. And I think that the scientists who discovered, I guess that would be paleontologists, who discovered this bone, there was a photograph of a 6 foot tall man or so laying next to this femur that was found. And it was bigger than him. So this creature, they say, if they can find enough bones to put it back together or whatever, however they do that, will stand, I think it said 66 feet tall, something like that. That's amazing, right? I can't imagine the world back in those days. Whenever we had that happening on this planet, it's just hard to imagine. And who knows what life was like back then, how things changed. Was it hotter? Colder? I know we've had an ice age, and it's always, whenever they show prehistoric creatures, they always seem like they're in a hotter climate. Dr. Jerry L. Hatfield is on the phone. I'm sure he's not on the talk about dinosaurs. He's the director of the USDA ARS National Lab for Agriculture and Environment in Ames, Iowa, and the convening lead author of the agriculture chapter of the 2014 National Climate Assessment Report. This is I think, he's going to correct me if I'm wrong, it's congressionally mandated report, and it gives an overview on agricultural findings, how the changing climate will affect how we eat. There was a story this morning, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't, quote it, but it sounded like breakfast foods would be more expensive. Cornflakes is the one it named, simply because the price will go up because of the effect that the warming environment will have on those crops. And I'm not a scientist, I'm just a radio announcer, so I let the scientists do the talking, but it's something to pay attention to. Dr. Hatfield, good morning, and it's an honor to have you on our show. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning, and I'm glad to be here.
And where are you right now?
Ames, Iowa.
Oh, you are in Ames. Okay. Well, thank you for getting up early to be with us. Yeah, speaking of corn, you're in the corn capital of America anyway, right? If not the world, right?
We are the corn capital of the world as well as the soybean capital of the world.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that when you read about the global warming thing here in Florida, the rising oceans, basically the spine of Florida is all that will be left if everybody's predicting the right thing.
Yeah, if you look at continuing rising sea levels and everything, as we continue to look at what's going to happen along the coast and pieces of that puzzle, that becomes a critical part of this. Florida, is affected. Southern parts of the United States, a lot of other countries around the world that are low-lying areas, a lot of islands in the Pacific, will dramatically change with rising sea levels. Yeah.
So the debate, the way I understand it, is not that the Earth is warming or not. I think everybody seems to agree it is. It's whether we're causing it, right? Isn't that the debate?
That's what role does humans have in exaggerating this signal that is in our climate? What are we doing to disrupt climate patterns? I think one of the things that has to be understood is that our rate of change in the climate is more rapid now than it has been. Because you mentioned earlier that we've had periods that have been colder and they've had periods that have been warmer, and generally the transition between those periods has been relatively slow. Right now, that transition is very fast, and I think that is indicative that humans are having an impact on what we do, for many different reasons. And so I think this is something is important, and when we relate it back to agriculture, and you mentioned the price of cornflakes and due to the instability of production, what does that mean in terms of how we're going to look at agriculture into the future. I mean, you just tying a couple things together is that you talk about a shrinking landmass in Florida. You look across the United States and you say, are there going to be shrinking areas where we can profitably grow the crops that we need to eat?
How imminent is this? I mean, how soon in the future? There was one report that said 1,000 years from now, it'll be the water levels that are predicted to rise will rise, but it'll be 1,000 years. And there was a story this morning that said by the end of this century. That's a big difference between 1,000 years from now and the end of this century. So, as average people, which I'm one of them, I guess, how do we know who to believe? I don't understand why one scientist would be so drastically different in the prognosis of the timing of this.
Well, and I think there's still a great deal of uncertainty about the rate of change in this, because we have little historical evidence, that drives some of this. I mean, and the faster rate of change is really a result of saying, if we continue to have CO2 emissions at the rate in which they are, we'll see these dramatic changes. If we slow them down, then we'll delay this effect out. And so, as we start predicting out, it becomes very, very uncertain, just how all these pieces really do fit together. And the Earth is really one big, very complex system in terms of weather patterns and seas and land masses and things like this. So all those factors interact with each other, and honestly, we don't always understand how they interact and how they will respond to some of the perturbations that we do.
Now, we've done some things right here in Florida that I don't know that they apply to global warming in any way, but we've severely, and the word severely is not good, we've drastically changed the landscape. If you look at an old map of Florida and find the place that is now Disney World, it shows the little slash marks that indicate it's a swamp. And I guess Disney decided to pool all those together, so now there's lakes instead of a swamp. Everybody knows about how the Everglades was messed up by stopping the flow of water, and now we're trying to put that back to the way it should be. But how would this affect us here, and agriculture, obviously what we want to focus on with this interview, but how would it affect us in our state, and is it only the coastal states that would be affected, or would like you're in the middle, right, in Iowa, would you be affected?
Oh yes, I mean everybody. I don't know that anybody's going to escape the effect of climate change, and we can just talk about some of those things as we say we go in a transect from Florida to Iowa, and we can talk about some of those effects that might occur. And you look at Florida, I mean, with hotter summers. And with hotter summers, we have more evaporative demand, so there's actually more evaporation back into the atmosphere. So water that's transpired to the plants goes back up more quickly. You mentioned changing that whole dynamic of the landscape by putting lakes in instead of swamps and diverting the water. Humans have done a great job throughout our history of manipulating how we have water in part of our landscape. Look at what we have in California with the canal system, and water that's captured in the mountains is moved the whole length of California clear into Mexico, and same thing in Colorado. I mean, so you look here, but when we start transitioning up, from Florida up to Iowa and the upper Midwest, is that we've manipulated our water because we have much more in the spring, so we have a lot of subsurface drainage to move water off the landscape, but we really rely on summer rainfall to produce our crops.
So if we as humans are contributing to something that has dire consequences, and I'm not debating that that's true. I think that's obvious. I mean, you just have to land in any big city and you see dirt in the air. So, I mean, that's enough for me to know that we're making some mistakes. But I mean, what can we do? And is there a solution to this? And if I may just carry on just for a moment here, when somebody says electric cars are the solution, then the electricity that is produced is is produced by some other fossil fuel or coal, I guess, and isn't it trading in one for the other? Isn't the only solution to really simply not drive or to not, or what is the solution? What in a perfect world, what would everybody be needing to do in order to make sure that this doesn't happen, or is it inevitable?
Well, I think that, let's just add one additional element to this discussion, is the fact that, our population, by 2050 is going to be 9 billion people on the face of the earth. So, you think about what 9 billion people consume. The amount of water that we consume, the city infrastructure that it takes, and now there's the talk about mega cities, dotting the globe. You also talk about the food resources that those individuals need, and the statistic that we use is that between now and 2050, we're going to have to produce as much food to feed that population as we've produced in the last 1,500 years. And this becomes a very interesting part of this puzzle, because it says as we have more and more demand for food and water, the disruption of food production, or the disruption of our fresh water supply by precipitation changes, can have very dire consequences. And so that's why this all becomes a very important topic to begin to think about how these pieces fit together, but also, as you mentioned, what solutions can we begin to offer to ensure that we're adapting to climate change, and that we can continue to produce the food. How do we bring all these pieces together? And I think it's going to take some imaginative solutions to do this. It's going to take people understanding that here are some factors that we really need to consider and integrate together.
And would a goal of zero population growth be part of that, so that we don't have 9 billion people?
That's obviously one alternative that's suggested. As we go to reduce population growth as part of that.
How would we do that?
That's going to take some interesting policies as far beyond you and I.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's beyond me, but I wouldn't want to see. I don't know. I don't like the policies that you hear about in China. That just sounds crazy. I wouldn't want that. It'd have to be voluntary, I guess.
Yeah, it would. You just get into the whole population dynamics. Is obviously is part of that discussion. I think one of the things that a lot of us are very concerned about is in light of climate change, how do we make sure that we continue to produce a very nutritious food supply? And in spite of climate change, how do we bring those pieces together to help us help all the countries around the world that have agricultural systems ensure food security?
I want to tell you an observation, and boy, it's going to sound like I'm making a bad remark here, and I don't intend to, but I think it's a true observation. What I have in common as an entertainer, and basically that's all I am. I do a radio show, and it's supposed to be entertaining, and in this case, it's hopefully informational. But what I have in common with congressmen, and again, I'm saying a broad stroke statement here that may not apply to everyone, but is that neither they nor I have been scientists. And why I say that is this, is because here is from what I understand, a congressionally mandated climate assessment report that you're reporting on, right? So scientists, at the instructions of Congress, have put together this report. And my guess is, knowing the politicians I've had on the air here, they will look at this and either say this is hogwash because I don't believe in global warming, or they say, yes, this supports what I've said all along. And it's not going to change their minds because they do like we do. Congressmen do like radio guys do. We are know-it-alls. We pretend we know more than we really do. and that's the absolute honest truth, and I'm speaking for everybody in my profession, a lot of us carry on as if we know more than you, and you're a scientist. So we need to be listening to you and really listening to you is how I feel about this. So if I'm in Congress, let's say, and I said all along, I don't believe in this whole global warming thing, and somebody would have said, well, what study did you do? Nothing. I listened to Rush Limbaugh. Okay, well, how did he know? Or listen to Al Franken. I'll take the other side of the politics. Well, how does he know? Whoever it is, how do they know? So, and it's so when there's a congressional report like this, and maybe this is just I'm asking for your input here. But what do you think, Dr. Hatfield? Do you think that they really look at it with an open mind and really say, well, these are educated men and women who made these came to these conclusions, and we need to think about it?
Yeah, let me just kind of give you the structure of how this report is put together. I mean, there's 300 authors, plus or minus a few on this report, and it is not just our opinions. Is that these are the result of very detailed analyses and synthesis of all the information that is available to us. And so we pull all those together. We give our scientific interpretations of the facts and what we know, and we gauge all those different pieces of information together to come up with these conclusions. And I'll just give you one example that I think will maybe kind of help in this, and why the warming piece is so important is that each one of our crops has a particular temperature range in which they grow the best, and so it's kind of a bell-shaped curve. And as we get plants have an optimum temperature, and then they have a maximum threshold temperature, and then obviously they have a minimum temperature in which they don't grow. Well, what is happening is in a lot of cases our plants are being exposed to temperatures that are above their optimum. So they're no longer optimally performing. And so that ends up decreasing their yield. It decreases their productivity. If you look at a lot of the things that Florida produces, in terms of vegetable crops, and if we try to grow those during the summertime, and a lot of our vegetable crops are cool season crops, we try to grow those during the summer, it's just going to be way too warm for them. They won't produce much, or the quality will be such that that people won't want to eat them because they have a different flavor to them. And so these become the very important pieces of this puzzle that I think we need to understand and draw the linkages that it is not just about if it warms 1 degree or 2 degrees. It's what does that 1 degree or 2 degree warming really mean in terms of our food supply, our production capabilities, our food security as a nation. I think that's the frame that this information needs to be placed into. And then you have a different type of discussion about how these pieces really fit together.
Right, and once you get to that point, then the discussion should be, okay, now what do we do? Do we tell people not to drive? Do we put regulations on things that create global warming or contribute to global warming? How do we handle this? What do we do? It's almost as perplexing as how do you stop the population from growing?
Well, there are some things. I mean, I think we, and I can't speak for the car industry or the transportation industry because we're built around that. But I think there are things we can do in conservation and improving efficiency much more rapidly than maybe what we're doing. From an agricultural perspective, we have an opportunity in agriculture to really decrease carbon in the atmosphere by placing that carbon into the soil and using farming techniques that basically all plants take CO2 out of the air, they put it into the root system, it's stored below ground, and if we can continue to not disturb that through all the different modern farming practices we have, the soil can become a tremendous sink for CO2. And so that's one piece that agriculture can play in this overall puzzle. We can also do things in terms of other greenhouse gases, methane from soils or nitrous oxide by soils, by changing management practices. And I think agriculture is really going to have to become part of the solution to how we address this problem.
Oh, yeah. And a real easy one for us to see in this part of the country is the effect of the runoff that not just commercial farmers, but even the homeowner who decides to fertilize his lawn. The runoff ends up in the rivers, and anybody who's lived here long enough has seen a decrease in the amount of fish. Which was one of our big things for the longest time. So, and everybody who's ever just read the newspaper one time, you'll see a story that the what's it called, phosphates, Robin, that has built up in the rivers. So, and that's what they're blaming it on, is the runoff from what we're doing with our chemicals on our lawns.
And I think that that's a really good point, and that's the fact that every one of us, has a role in helping provide a partial solution to this problem. We really just cannot say, well, it's all on the backs of agriculture, or it's all on the backs of transportation, or all on the backs of energy. It is really everyone has a stake in this game, and everyone should be looking at how do they contribute to solutions as part of this puzzle. And that's where I think that the public needs to understand that they, you and I both, are all part of the solution.
Dr. Jerry L. Hatfield is our guest, and we're talking about the congressionally mandated 2014 National Climate Assessment Report. Is there a way for our listeners to read the report themselves, or to see anything about? Is there a website you can tell us about?
Oh yeah, there's if you could just go like everything, you just go Google National Climate Assessment. It takes you right to the report document. It's a nice small read. It's 840 some pages, so you can pick and choose what chapters you want to look at. But I would urge everyone to begin to read that and understand the potential implications of this for everything that touches their lives, because in this report we do have all the different sectors of the U.S. economy addressed, as well as by regions of the country, a number of those different things, so that anyone can begin to understand this and see this and how it impacts their lives.
And does it hurt when non-native species are transplanted to another area and being forced to grow there?
No, I mean you got all those issues with the non-natives, and in fact, you look at some of this aspect, Robin, in terms of that because of our changing climate, we have species that are non-native that are becoming very aggressive in areas that they're growing in because the climate's changed enough to allow this to happen.
Gosh.
The report again is globalchange.gov. Is that a website for this as well?
Yes, it is.
Globalchange.gov.
You can do globalchange.gov. Yep.
Okay. Dr. Hatfield, thank you for this discussion this morning and helping us understand what's going on around us. Well, I'm sure this isn't the end of this conversation, nor do I believe it's the end of the debate about it. But real quick question, if I can squeeze one in. I'm originally from New York. The Hudson River, when I was a kid, was a mess. And I'm not saying it's totally clean now, but it's a lot better than it was. So are we as a nation making efforts to correct the problems we created? And how are we compared to like China, that we hear they've got a lot of pollution? And I didn't mean to throw you a big question. We got like 30 seconds.
I think we've made strides over the past 30, 40 years, but I believe we've got a long way to go. You mentioned, what we've got for runoff still going into our rivers, lakes, and streams. I think that as a nation, we really need to look and say, how do we protect our natural resources? Yeah. How do we protect our air, our water, and our soil? Doctor,
we're up against the clock, but it's an honor. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. Jerry Hatfield. I love Iowa, by the way. I've been there. I just enjoyed.
Thank you.
I enjoyed my visit. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Veterans and their healthcare system problems on the agenda at a meeting coming up between the president and VA Secretary Eric Shinseki.
That Oval Office meeting added this morning to the president's schedule. It will include aide Rob Neighbors, who's overseeing the VA investigation. Neighbors then heads to Phoenix to meet with staff at the clinic where the first allegations were made of delayed care, leading to a cover-up in patient deaths.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern in Washington, where House lawmakers are poised to put a measure to the vote today.
The Republican House bill would give Eric Shinseki more power to fire and demote senior administrators, adding much-needed accountability to that department, supporters argue.
We're just learning that 70 people have been charged in the New York City area in a child porn case, according to authorities, including a rabbi and a Boy Scout leader. And the GM recall growing, 218,000 subcompacts now added to the list. Fox News, we report, you decide.
And now, another golf confessional brought to you by Golfsmith. A very generous gift giver told us that she's actually a re-gifter, and it's gotten worse since she went to Golfsmith. She got the new Cobra BioCell driver with MyFly 8 technology. That's 8 distance-improving settings, and she also got a free $75 gift card. Coincidentally, that same day, she gave her dad a great gift, a $75 Golfsmith gift card. Pick up the Cobra BioCell driver and get a free $75 gift card. Only at Golfsmith. Anything for golf.
Now through Memorial Day, Performance Bicycle, the nation's largest online cycling retailer, is offering the craziest, most extreme deals in their 32-year history. It's Markdown Madness at performancebike.com. All bikes are on sale up to 50% off, plus incredible savings on helmets, jerseys, shorts, shoes, parts, accessories. Thousands and thousands of items priced to sell out. Insane doorbusters, 50, 60, up to 70% off. Markdown Madness at performancebike.com.
Attention passengers for Flight 1370. The plane has been delayed at its departure point and will be at least 2 hours late. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Are you serious? It took us over an hour to get here, 2 hours going through security and getting our tickets, and now we have to wait another 2 hours.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, but we're inside this overcrowded airport all day because the plane is stuck in bad weather.
This is the last time we ever do this. When we get back, we're going to Ocala Aviation and getting our pilot's license.
Yeah, we've been talking about that long enough. It's about time we did it. Then we could just fly ourselves and never have to deal with this mess again.
Right. No long lines, no full body groping security, no baggage checks.
Not to mention never losing your luggage. Remind me again why we haven't done that?
Well, we're idiots.
Oh, right.
Attention all passengers for Flight 1370. It looks like the plane is going to be delayed a little bit longer. The airline has lost the pilot's luggage. Isn't it time you got your pilot's license? Call Ocala Aviation today. 352-861-7484. That's 352-861-7484. Hey, you've earned it. Call today.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Palm Chevrolet, where supporting the community is the Palm Chevy way, and by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Hi, Robin. You look tired.
I am. I've been running all over town.
Why? Why not drive?
I need to get the stupid document notarized.
Well, that's easy. You need personal service.
Duh. That's what I've been looking for.
You need to go see Mark at the Personal Service Center. He can notarize that for you, make copies, fax it wherever, or send it out in the mail. Heck, he can even scan it and email it for you.
Really? Where is he at?
2375 Northeast 25th Avenue, on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street. You can call him at 789-6683.
Personal Service Center. Thanks, Larry.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hey, it's Christy with Ocala Mac and PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi to let you know we have you covered. We are the only local certified Apple and Microsoft computer company in Ocala. We are family owned and operated. From mobile repair to wireless networks, viruses, new systems, or security cameras, we do it all. Check us out online, ocalamacpc.com, or give us a call, 352-566-8324.
Tell them Nick, Madison, or Mason sent you and get free diagnostic.
Get your internet telephone service from the company that brought affordable internet service to Ocala in the first place. All is Safe is a sister company of Ocala Guest Wi-Fi, a company you've known and trusted for all your internet needs. Whether you need a phone or hundreds, we've got the products and services to meet your needs both now and in the future. Our plans include everything from local and long-distance calling to equipment maintenance and even software upgrades. You can count on All is Safe to give you cost certainty knowing that your bill will be the same next week, next month, or even next year. Call 352-450-8647 today to learn how to cut your monthly telephone bill up to 60%.
This is the Salvation Army, and I'm Major George Patterson to let you know that the Salvation Army is available 24 hours a day to provide help to anyone. We also have a family store at 120 Northwest 10th Street in Ocala. On Tuesday to Saturday from 9 to 4, you can do your shopping, or if you want to donate, you can call 352-732-4469, and we'll even pick up 352-732-4469. All funds generated by our store go into the programs here in Marion County to help the needy.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
As a rule, bad news should always be delivered in person or by phone, especially at work. Those without strong social circles are twice as likely to die early. In fact, loneliness can reduce our lifespan just as much as smoking can. The white noise generated by a fan prevents random sounds from disturbing your sleep. And when we've had a good night's sleep, our bodies produce less of the I'm hungry hormone, ghrelin.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio